Tonight, after a challenging but successful year for the local RCMP, we look ahead to what the superintendent wants to see in 2024. Plus, it was quite a year for Nechako Lakes MLA John Rustad, who entered the political limelight when he was kicked out of the BC United Party, now leading the BC Conservatives. And craft breweries are a staple of the community here in Prince George, but the rising cost of operations is making it difficult for many in BC. Good evening, folks. I'm Eddie Huband, and welcome to CKPG News. Our top story tonight follows up on a story from yesterday. We told you that Prince George RCMP Superintendent Sean Wright looked back on what he called a challenging but successful year for the RCMP. And today he looks ahead to what he wants to see in 2024. Tommy Osborne has the details on what the RCMP hope to achieve in the new year.
Building on successes and finding ways to address challenges. That's the vision for the Prince George RCMP heading into 2024. RCMP Superintendent Sean Wright says one top priority will be property crime. But this isn't anything new, as he says property crime is always a big topic of discussion.
Moving into 2024, we want to continue the momentum of the problem-oriented policing team and really find out from the communities what issues they're having that are truly affecting their quality of life in their neighborhoods, and we'll seek to have that team go out and try and address those issues.
One huge focus is downtown property crime specifically. As Wright said, they've heard from businesses that more needs to be done. While he didn't have official numbers, he's happy with the progress the RCMP made, as he believes that crime is trending downwards and hopes to keep that going in the new year.
We've created a problem-oriented policing team, so we've started to address some of those issues that we saw were a problem for the community. One of the largest ones was retail theft at many of our local retailers, particularly in the downtown core, so we've partnered with them and really targeted a lot of that behavior.
It's not just downtown though. Wright said in general he wants to improve the quality of life in all of Prince George.
People shouldn't have to live next to a drug house next to them that's causing a disturbance and making it impossible for them and their children to live there. So that's my primary focus for 2024, is just to increase the livability of Prince George and really bring this back to a family-oriented community.
Property crime and livability are one of many goals Wright set for the RCMP next year, and it's certainly one of the biggest ones. While downtown safety and getting drugs off our street are certainly up there too, at the end of the day, Wright said they just want to make Prince George as safe as possible for everyone. Tommy Osborne, CKPG News.
Turning to politics now, we caught up with Nechako Lakes MLA John Rustad, who entered the political limelight when he was kicked out of the then BC United Party. This year, he took on the role of leading a once dormant party, the BC Conservatives, attracting some attention.
John Rustad entered politics in 2005 and has held various ministerial positions. Earlier this year, the Conservative Party of BC chose him as its leader.
So as I joined the Conservative Party of British Columbia, the leader at that time decided to step down and make room for me to take on the leadership, which I took on at the end of March. And from there, you're taking a party that's somewhere between 2 and 4% in the polls, and trying to vault it onto the political stage in BC.
According to John Rustad, people across the province are seeking political change.
People are looking for something different, and I think that's sort of what's happened. Is the Conservative Party has kind of tapped into that grassroots movement across the province, where people are saying, "Hey, wait a second, this could be done differently. How could we do that?" And so it's been a very interesting path.
Rustad persists in strengthening his party to secure seats in the 2024 election.
It also means I'm not spending as much time in my riding, and so that I feel that in terms of the riding and the issues there. But then again, many of the issues that I'm fighting for that I'd like to change provincially are the issues that people would like to see changed in my riding as well. And so it is definitely a trade-off that is a challenge.
A political poll was taken at the end of November reports that if an election were held at the time of the survey, the BC NDP would likely secure another majority government. The Conservative Party of BC placed a second with 26%, followed by the official opposition BC United at 17%. Dave Branco, CKPG News.
Taylor Bachrach, meanwhile, has been in federal politics for 4 years now, and the 2023 has been a busy year in Ottawa for the Northwest BC MP. Adam Burles tells us more now about Backrack's Year That Was.
2023 has been a busy year for the MP from Skeena-Bulkley Valley. Taylor Backrack represents communities such as Terrace, Prince Rupert, Smithers, Burns Lake, and everywhere in between. This summer, Backrack traveled to some of the more remote communities in his riding and took his constituents' concerns back to Ottawa.
A lot of the things that I heard were about the need for the government to invest in transportation, to invest in infrastructure, to invest in services so that their neighbors and them can enjoy a high quality of life in a small remote community.
One issue that Backrack was pushing for this year was bringing a passport office to northern BC.
We were able to get a new passport office up and running in northern BC in Prince George, which is going to serve our region. It's still going to be a drive for some people to get there, but certainly more convenient than having to go all the way to the lower mainland to get passport services.
As the NDP's transport critic, Backrack sits on the Federal Transport Committee, and advocating for stronger air passenger rights was a big part of his year.
We pushed very hard for improvements to the Air Passenger Bill of Rights in this country to bring Canada's regulations at least up to the level set by the European Union. We did manage to win some improvements, and the Liberal government has brought forward its version of what it feels is going to be a strengthened version of that passenger regulatory framework. But I think, time is going to tell whether it's strong enough to really protect air passengers.
And 2024 is looking to be yet another busy year.
We're studying the issue of passenger rail, and I know this is something that's near and dear to many people's hearts in the Northwest. And I'm looking forward to pushing the government to make investments in passenger rail that are needed to ensure that Canada catches up to the rest of the world.
And a final message for 2023.
To everyone out there right across the Northwest, I hope everyone has a safe and happy holiday season, and I want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Adam Burles, CKPG News.
Gas prices in BC and the north have hit lows not seen in months, and the outlook for next year is looking to be similar to what we saw in 2023. Canadians and Americans aren't consuming as much oil these days, and with an increase in oil production in Canada and the U.S., drivers have been seeing lower prices at the pumps, with BC at an average price of $1.60.9 per litre. Patrick DeHaan, the lead petroleum analyst with Gas Buddy, says the imbalances from COVID-19 have also smoothed out, allowing energy prices to fall back into a normal range.
Part of the reason why it's becoming more challenging to get to those previous lows is the rise in carbon taxes that we've seen again this year, and we'll see another adjustment here in April of next year. So that will likely have an impact on prices. But the good news is I don't expect prices to be quite as high for the duration of the year next year as what we saw this year. Overall, some of the lowest gas prices are going to be in January and February. Prices right now in the mid-dollar a liter range. And then as we get towards May and long weekend, we'll be talking about gas prices that could get a little bit closer to the $2 a liter range. I'm hopeful that won't happen again this year, though prices could hit 185 to 195 at the peak. We should see prices then rolling back through the summer. And then by the end of the year, again, we could be talking about gas prices that are back below $1.50 a liter. So I think the mainstay is a very similar feel in 2024 compared to what we saw this year.
2024 could see the end of many craft breweries in the province, as the BC Craft Brewers Guild says 15% of breweries could be facing closure. But what about here in Prince George? Tommy Osborne spoke with a local brewery to see what the situation is like here in town.
Rising costs and inflation have made things very challenging for BC craft breweries. According to the BC Craft Brewers Guild, approximately 40 of 240 craft breweries in the province could be closing next year due to expenses and debt forcing closures. However, here in Prince George, Trench Brewing and Distilling says breweries are actually doing quite well.
We just got out of Christmas and we had the busiest Christmas season we've had with company buyouts and things of that nature.
Some may view craft beer as more of a luxury rather than a necessity, as there are cheaper options out there. Quarmby said he has noticed a dip in sales during and since the pandemic with craft beers, but finding diverse revenue streams has kept them running. Whether it's events, food, merchandise, or selling more than just beer, staying diverse is key for a craft brewery to stay in business.
Seltzer has been huge for us. We started doing the vodka iced teas, and that has really been a savior for us for sales-wise.
One huge benefit for Trench and other Prince George breweries that set it apart from the rest of the province is the fact that we are in northern BC, and the relative lack of competition helps our breweries stay in business. While there are certainly advantages to being in Prince George and northern BC for a craft brewery, there are some challenges that come with it as well. Mainly, supply chain. When you're sending things to the lower mainland's liquor stores, that's going to cost you a lot more because of the fact that we're in northern BC.
For us to get down in liquor stores down in Vancouver, we have to ship it down to Vancouver, get it approved, it comes back to us, and then we send it again. And like the liquor stores in Prince George, we have to send it down to the warehouse in Vancouver, and then it gets sent back and delivered to the liquor stores up here. So it is extra costs operating up here in the north. Cost of goods are higher than they even are in the mainland. We see a lot more shortages, things of that nature. So it definitely keeps you on your toes, and you have to be able to adapt very quickly and figure out solutions kind of on the fly.
At the end of the day, it comes down to navigating a complex and very saturated beer market to stay in business, which for some breweries like Trench could mean making more than just beer to stay in business. Tommy Osborne, CKPG News.
Boxing Day was once a day where people donated gifts to those in need, but now it's evolved into a day where people head out to the stores to find the best deals. But Boxing Day has now turned into Boxing Week, with deals and sales taking place throughout the rest of the week leading up until New Year's. Adam Burl spoke to a couple local businesses to find out what Boxing Week looks like for them.
Boxing Day is a day where many head out to stores to find the best deals, but the holiday has evolved, and one local business owner says he has seen the evolution of Boxing Day over the years.
Over the 3 decades that we've been open, we've really seen a change from the customer's perspective on what their expectation is for Boxing Day. It started off being they came after Christmas and they were expecting to see those items for Christmas that didn't sell at Christmas that maybe somebody had overbought on being on sale for a particular day, door crashers to get people out of the house and into the store and spend some of those gift certificates or cash that they were given for Christmas and get that money just back into the stores really quickly.
One day of shopping has now turned into a week of low prices, discounts, and sales for consumers.
It's now turned into a week-long event where we really try to look at a way to entice people to come in and maybe balance our stock a little bit more, get rid of those items that we thought might have sold well at Christmas and then didn't.
For Great White, Boxing Week is just as important as the weeks leading up to Christmas.
So we're seeing Boxing Week sales being very important for our store. They're as important as the first week of December, actually, for the type of volume we're doing on a daily basis.
While many stores are open on Boxing Day and offer deals and discounts during the week, other stores have gone in a different direction.
We're not open on Boxing Day. We never have been, and we don't plan to ever be. We just kind of think it's important to give our staff time at home with their families.
A busy shopping season in December will prelude a slower month in January for retailers.
With Black Friday and, the Christmas rush and everything, it's a very busy time of year retail-wise anyways. That last sort of month is the real push, going into a quieter January typically, especially in this type of retail environment.
If you're still looking for a deal or a bargain, there is only a couple of days left before Boxing Week wraps up. Adam Burles, CKPG News.
The lowest gas price in Prince George is currently sitting at $1.44.9 a liter at Costco. The lowest price in the province right now is in Chilliwack at $1.33.9 per liter. Alberta currently has the lowest fuel prices on average in the country at $1.15.9 per liter, while BC has an average price of $1.60.8 per liter.
CKPG Sports is delivered by Domino's. Feed your team tonight with a delicious mix and match combo. Chicken, pizza, pasta, or dessert for just $8.99 per item.
The Prince George Cougars had some trouble in paradise last night against the Edmonton Oil Kings, finding themselves on the wrong side of a so-called easy win situation as they kicked off the second half of the regular season. Here's Caitlin Pobersnick with the highlights.
The Prince George Cougars got hit hard last night, and they especially didn't find much fortune in the first period. The Edmonton Oil Kings came out hot, scoring 4 goals in the opening 20 minutes of play. Ty Nash snatched a hat trick, with Marshall Finney adding one to the board as well, which led to the Cougars goaltender Ravensbergen being relieved by Ty Young for the remainder of the game. Prince George started the second period with a significant turnaround, limiting the Oil Kings to just 3 shots on net the whole period. Demansky laid a massive hit, which led to Matteo Denis getting the Cats on the scoreboard with just 10 minutes left in the period. Riley Height got the Cougars their second goal of the game, making it his 18th goal of the season. It's 4-2 going into the third. Edmonton was relentless and got themselves an early goal to start the final frame off. Cougars' Aiden Foster was going to leave the game feeling pretty good, though, as he tipped in his first WHL goal 3 minutes later. That was followed up by Orange Strome getting one into the back of the net to bring the Cougars within 1. Didn't matter much, though, as the Oil Kings put the dagger in on an empty netter with a minute left in the game, solidifying their 6-4 win on the road, giving Prince George their 10th loss of the season. The Cougars still stand at the top of the Western Conference.
But it's not all bad news. The Cougars have a chance to bounce back tonight, and this evening it's a different Alberta team in town, the Calgary Hitmen. Kalen Pobersnick had a chance to catch up with Voice the Cougars' Cole Waldy earlier today to preview the big matchup and discuss a recent personnel move.
We're here at the CN Center ahead of tonight's Cougars game with Mr. Cole Waldy himself, the voice of your Prince George Cougars. Now, I know that last night didn't really go as planned. I feel like a lot of people thought that they were going to take the Oil Kings easily, but tonight is a new night, and I think it's fair to say that they're good at coming back. They haven't lost 2 consecutive games yet this season, so do you just kind of want to touch about what we can look forward to in tonight's game?
Yeah, for sure. Last night, obviously, not the result the Cougars were looking for, first game back, but yeah, as you said, it's a pretty impressive statistic that they haven't lost back-to-back games, so I think you're going to see a really hungry Prince George Cougar team, Calgary team that comes in here, still trying to find their way. I know the Cougars have a couple of former hitmen on their team, on the Cougars, so they're excited to play against their old club, so if history repeats itself, I think the Cougars are looking pretty good going into tonight.
Can you also just kind of talk about the fact that, you know, this team is just so strong, and even after a break, they still managed to get 4 goals. That's not something to shy away from either.
Yeah, for sure. This team can score on command, even when they went down 4-0. I don't think there was any worry in the dressing room and the crowd. The Cougars are so, I think they've had that, motive that they can score on command. It feels like we saw that last year. We've seen that this year, and I think we're going to see more of the same here into tonight's game. And you can't take anyone lightly in the Western Hockey League. I think yesterday was a prime example of that. So, expect a very hungry Cougar team here tonight. Try to get their first win here in the second half.
Now, I think the biggest news that we have to talk about is our new player, Chase Pauls, acquired from Lethbridge. Now, he's 6'5". Everything I've been seeing about him is just title 6'5". Yeah. So how big is it to have such a big player on the back end?
Yeah, for sure. He's a big kid. Like, we got to talk to him here this morning. He got here this morning from Jasper, actually. So, he's a big kid. He's very stay-at-home defense first, makes that first pass out of his own zone. He can kill penalties. He can fight, so he's pretty, hard bruising defenseman on the back end, which I think the Cougars were missing. He's right-handed too. The Cougars don't have any right-handed shots on the back end, so nice to add Chase into the fold, a guy that's played nearly 200 games in the league. So I think it's a great add by Mark. He only gave up a third-round pick for him, and I think experience is so invaluable, and hopefully we see that with Chase Pauls in a Cougars uniform.
Now, final thing here. One of the things that GM said was the fact that he's going to fit in well with the guys. How much does that make a team when you have a new guy coming in that he's not going to ruffle any feathers within the roster?
Yeah, that's the most important thing, and I think that's been the whole sense of this hockey team. Even over the Christmas break, like, they were ready to come back to Prince George after 2 or 3 days. They thought the break was too long. So those are guys that are all in right now. They want to bring a championship to Prince George, and I think Chase does nothing but help the team. And yeah, it seems like he's a really great kid. I think that he really is fit in already. It's only been a couple of hours, but I think he's going to fit in just fine here in the BC Northern Capital.
Awesome. Thank you, Cole. Puck drops tonight against Calgary Hitmen. Now, you can come down. It should be a great game, and I'll send it back to you in the studio, Eddie.
The TSX is down 87 points to close at 20,929. The Dow Jones is up 54 points to close at 37,710. And CN Rail is down 76 cents to close at $165.46.
Clouds continuing to clear out of the Prince George area today, and even more clear skies expected tomorrow. So a mostly sunny day in the forecast. Here's your AccuWeather Pacific satellite map. So the bulk of that cloud cover still lingering on BC's coastal areas, more so in the northern half of the province, but for Prince George and anywhere south of that, looking at relatively clear skies for the rest of today and tomorrow as well. Here's our futurecast. So next 48 hours, some pockets of precipitation moving in, but for the bulk of Friday, we are looking at relatively dry conditions. Now that may start to change, as you can see, as we get into that Saturday morning period. Chance of some showers or some wet flurries depending on your elevation, but throughout the day on Friday looking mostly dry. Highs tomorrow across BC. Prince Rupert with a high of 13 degrees, pretty warm. Terrace, of course, a little bit cooler at around 5. Fort St. John cooling off again with around -1 rather for their high for tomorrow. Prince George, we have a high of around -4, so a little bit cooler than what we've been seeing today, and that's kind of the case all throughout. Across the rest of the broadcast region tomorrow, Vanderhoof with a high of around 6 degrees, Burns Lake right around 2 degrees, Quesnel at about 6. Across the rest of the country, Yellowknife looking at a high of around -8, a little bit warmer, of course, at Edmonton. Still getting loads of sunshine there, apparently, right around +3. That will continue as you get into the Regina and Winnipeg areas. Of course, as you get further east, the weather does start to cloud over and get a little bit wetter and a little bit cooler as well as you're getting into the Montreal, Toronto, and into the Maritime areas. Looking ahead, chance of showers will begin building in that overnight period on Friday evening, continuing to build in into Saturday morning, and that should continue, that chance of showers lingering really all throughout the weekend. Extended forecast for Burns Lake. So tonight looking relatively cloudy, right around -4. Friday in the morning, chance of some showers, but a mix of sun and cloud throughout the afternoon. Saturday, more of the same, mix of sun and cloud and a little bit cooler of a temperature as well, right around +1. Mackenzie area, pretty similar. So mix of sun and cloud to start off the day tomorrow, a high of around +2. So a little bit cooler. It is going to warm back up again, though, by the time Saturday kicks in. Partly sunny skies and looking at sun and clouds for Sunday as well. McBride area, partly cloudy evening ahead, dipping down to an overnight low right around -4. A little bit cooler in the daytime for Friday. Still getting a little bit of sunshine, but some cloud cover thrown in with that. Saturday looking relatively cloudy, turning cloudier as the day gets on, warming back up though with a high of around +4. Sunday, chance of some showers or some flurries in the forecast, but some form of precipitation is beginning to strengthen there. Quesnel area looking relatively clear tonight, getting down to around -1. Tomorrow, Friday, a high right around 5-6 degrees, so a little bit cooler than what was seen today, but warming up again as you get into the weekend, the start of it at least for Saturday, with a sun-cloud mix in the forecast. And in the Prince George area, looking at a relatively clear evening ahead, that wind speed looking somewhat mild, getting down to around -2. Now tomorrow we have a mix of sun and cloud in the forecast, a little bit cooler for that daytime high right around +4. That should stabilize carrying throughout Saturday and Sunday. Both of those days looking at a sun cloud mix, but we do have a slight chance of precipitation that will begin to build in.
CKPG Sports is delivered by Domino's. Feed your team tonight with a delicious mix and match combo. Chicken, pizza, pasta, or dessert for just $8.99 per item.
The Prince George Spruce Kings have a couple players in their 5th and final year, one of which is Killian McGregor Bennett. Caitlin Pobersnick has more now on the Spruce Kings vet and his journey.
One of the Spruce Kings' most veteran players has made his way into his final year. Killian McGregor Bennett has been with the Spruce Kings since their initial COVID year, and every year since, he's not only been growing as a player, but as a leader as well.
I think I've always been a lead by example kind of guy, going out on the ice, competing as hard as possible. But now with more of a voice on the team, it's encouraging, it's motivating guys, it's making sure, holding guys accountable, making sure people are on task. And you know, with our group this year, although we struggle a bit, there's been a lot of opportunity for me to come in and help guys continue to grow as people, and yeah, we've been slowly getting better as the season's gone on.
McGregor Bennett says the leadership grew over his time with the Spruce Kings, but it has been in the making since he first put on his skates.
I started on the ice when I was about 3 years old. Just kind of loved hockey, tried other sports, but it was always just hockey for me. And yeah, like my family sacrificed a lot just for me to get out to like early morning practices.
One thing that the 170-pound forward proves every single game is that size doesn't matter.
Yeah, I just play. I play the game, and I don't care about size. If I want the puck, that's my puck. Yeah, I've never. It's obviously it's a different game as a smaller guy, but I've learned how to adapt to it, playing in a pretty strong league, and yeah, definitely size is not an issue that I have.
Looking to the future, McGregor Bennett has the same goal as many BCHL players, to get the opportunity to play collegiate hockey.
Actually, the goal still is to go play Division I hockey, and with just being in talks with a couple of schools, it's hopeful, but I'm just playing and seeing what happens by the end of the year.
And it's no surprise that number 18 has the work ethic that he does when his favorite player happens to play the same way.
Growing up, my favorite player was Marian Hossa on the Atlanta Thrashers and Chicago Blackhawks. I don't know why I liked 81, and he was a grinder player. He went to the hard areas, just played the game well.
You can watch Killian McGregor Bennett play Friday night at 7 p.m. at Copar Memorial Arena. Caitlin Poversnick, CKPG News.
And now a trio of OT winners in tonight's CKP3.
Let's kick things off with an overtime winner that had to be reviewed.
2 seconds remaining. Stripped away. Coyotes get it in over the line. Zucker. Dursey to Zucker. He's stopped by Georgiev. Rebound. It's in. It's in. Coyotes win.
After thinking that it went off the skate of Jack McBain, the shot was ruled good to go, and the Coyotes took the W with 20 seconds left in the extra minutes. Next up, let's have a look at a turnover that cost the Blue Jackets the game.
And Timo Meyer's off to the races. Game on Meyer's stick. He shoots. He scores!
Timo Meyer effortlessly sneaks one through the 5-hole on a breakaway, ending this overtime with a 4-3 finish. Finally, the whiz kid himself, Connor Bedard.
Back to him. Bedard now. Main Street. He scores! It's over!
98 skated from coast to coast, splitting the defense and put it right past the glove side of Hellebuyck, making it his second goal of the night. This takes top spot in tonight's CKP3.
That's all for now, folks. Thanks so much for joining us as always. And your last look this evening is a look inside Trench Brewery. Enjoy. Have a great night. See you tomorrow.